All who's here so far, if y'all would like, share, and comment, tell me that you're here. I'm going to share. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Who's on? My screen is dirty, sorry. Hey, hey Monique, hey Lady Cox, hey Elder Cox, hey BFF. Come on and join me today. Hi everyone, hi Corday, thanks for joining today. It's been a while, Hi everyone. All those coming in, if you would say hi. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. I need y'all to speak as y'all come in so I know that you're here with me. I can't see who's watching. Oh, yes, I can. I can look on my phone. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm here. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give it a few minutes. I know people are probably like, she ain't going live today. Yes, I is. If y'all would share the live for me, tell somebody, text them and say she's on live. She got something to say. It's been a long time since I've been on, and so much has happened, so much has transpired, but wanted to, it should be the share button, I think. This is shareable, right? Yeah. It's shareable. Hello, 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 everyone. Come on in. I'm back. Tired, but back. Who else is watching? How are you? Say something to me. Let me look on Instagram. That's why I picked up my phone to look on Instagram. Hello, hello, hello. It's shareable. Okay. Hi, everybody. All right. I found it. Corday is so crazy. Anyway, welcome back to Hard Conversations with Jeauninè. It is my desire to embrace, encourage, enlighten, educate, and empower perspective, especially in the time that we're having now. And so I just wanted to jump on. I haven't been on, like I said. Life has been lifing extremely. I can't see who's watching me on Instagram, but hi. Life has been lifing, but I wanted to try to get back into it. I've been asked when I was coming back. I was threatened that I need to come back. Just been a variety of conversations in regards to hard conversations. And so I made it back today. Anyway, hi, Samantha. How are you? So I'm going to dive right into it, especially because I haven't been here in a long time and I don't want to go over my time. As I said, so much has happened and there's so much that I can talk about, but I want to talk about specifically a conversation that I had the other day, and it is my desire that it will show you another side, of course, give you perspective, Hi, Lady Sharon, joining us on Instagram. How are you? So I was having a conversation the other day, and there's so many different parts to this conversation. So I think I'm going to take bits and pieces of it, and maybe next week I'll do a continuation. But we were having a conversation in reference to people. And I know that this is a big topic. We can't live without them because we need them to function in some type of way. But we have to understand, maybe not necessarily everyone in their perspective place, but understand how people operate, especially sometimes operating out of what they don't know or what they choose not to know, right? So wanted to discuss people tonight. So I was having a conversation and I had to break down, and I hope this makes sense to whoever is watching, whoever may come back and watch. I always say that, you'll hear a lot of people say, well, they should have known better, or they should know better. And this conversation may step on some toes, and, I'm okay with that. But they should know better, or like, why do they do that? Why do they act like that? Like, why do they have this type of personality, or this type of character, or this type of disposition? Why are they always this way or always that way? Now, there are people who have grown and matured and evolved over the years. And then there are some that may not have. My thing to this person was, one, of course, we have to stop thinking that everybody's going to think like us. That's number one. We have to stop thinking that everybody thinks like us, because they don't, right? That could be due to how they were raised, the environment that they were raised in, any trauma that they've been through. It's a lot of different things that can put people in a position that they are now, or the way they act, or their attitude, their vibe, the energy, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different variables of why people are the way they are. But what I've learned over the years, and definitely recently, is that everyone is different. Like, we all have different characteristics, likes, dislikes, home training. We've had different backgrounds as far as our spirituality is concerned, and just the dynamics of life. But what I had to share with this person is that the longer you expect, and let's remember that one of my main things is that expectations should be conversations and not assumptions, because we go through life assuming that people should be on the level that we are. We go through life assuming that relationships are the same with different people, or we go through life thinking that I can treat you like I treat everybody else, or I can talk to you the way I talk to other people. Hi, Lady Kim, how are you? So we have to get to a point where we understand that there are people that are different from us. Right. And one of the analogies or conversations that I had, or one of the stories that I shared, was that I worked for a company called AHRC out of New York. And this company was a company for individuals with developmental disabilities. So some people were there because they were delayed, or they had schizophrenia, or they had multiple personality disorders, or they had dementia, or they were a specific age, right? They had houses all through Long Island where they housed these individuals. These individuals also had jobs, so every day they went out and they worked. They went to the movies, they went to dancing, they went to bowling. They had very active, regular lives, but they had some developmental disabilities, right? And the house that I was assigned to, there were four young ladies. Well, not necessarily young, but four young ladies, and they lived in the house. One had multiple personality disorder. She also had schizophrenia, but she was high functioning, as they called it, right? There was another young lady who had dementia, multiple personality disorders, behavior issues. Then there was another young lady who had Down syndrome and behaviors. And then there was another one who was high functioning. She was not on the Down syndrome, but definitely delayed, but she was high functioning, okay? This house was considered a behavior house because there were certain things that they did that, you know, they put the name on it, behavior. Yelling, screaming, fighting, arguing, throwing things, having tantrums, trying to stop you while you're driving, throw lunchbox out of the windows, hit you with remote controls. They had behaviors, right? Going into this house, this wasn't the first time that I've worked with individuals with developmental disabilities. I used to work in a public school in Brooklyn with children who had disabilities. Hey, Deuce. And so I was already familiar with the population of those that are delayed or have some type of developmental delay issue or situation. So it wasn't new to me to go in the house. However, the dynamics of how the house was different. It was a little different for me. I had to get to know each individual. I had to read their, they gave us binders on them, basically telling us of their behaviors and telling us, you know, what foods they can eat, what triggers they have, what happens after the trigger. So there was a whole base case study that I basically had to read for each individual that lived in this house. Hi, Iris. Hi, Pastor Burrows. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you all for joining me. If you would share and like and comment, ask any questions if you want to. I've been a while away for a while, but I'm back. I'm back. Tired, but I'm back. And so I'm talking about people today, and I'm going through a little bit of my job history. And I'm talking about me working for a company called AHRC with individuals that had developmental disabilities and some behaviors. And so once I started working in a house, there was certain things that I had to read up about each individual and, again, what their triggers were, what their issues were, the medication that they needed to take, how often they needed to go to the doctor, what activities they did. Did they work? You know, what they did after work, how often they saw their parents, what major things may have happened in their life that they may go off about in a moment's time. So it was a whole thing that I had to read up on who they were, right? Being in the house for 8 hours, sometimes doing double shifts, got me, it gave me the ability to learn more and more about them, not just based on what I read, but also seeing for myself. And so I had to understand once I started taking them to school and taking them to work, not school, taking them to work and being around a lot of them, that this is a population that is included in our daily living, right? And we need to understand that, you know, they don't like the term, and they actually did a whole big campaign to take away the terminology retarded. So we call them individuals with developmental disabilities. I'm not saying that everybody has a developmental disability. I'm saying that we have to understand who we are interacting with. Their circumstances may have caused them not to necessarily be on the level that you are. And so we have to get to a point where once we're around these people, right? Once I started working for them, I worked for them for about 4 years. Once I was around them, I got to a point where I noticed when one of them were about to get upset, or I noticed how they were going to act because we passed McDonald's or because we pulled up to the doctor's office. I started paying attention. And I'm saying that because we need to start paying attention. Right? I think sometimes we wait for people to come out and say, hey, this is how I act. This is my triggers. This is my attitude. This is what I may say. Sometimes we're waiting for people to tell us that when we need to pay attention to who they are and what they do. It's not about I'm looking you up and down, and it's nothing negative, but we need to understand who we're dealing with, which means if I'm around you on a regular basis, I should be paying attention to you, to how you speak, how you move, how you act, your dialogue, your conversation, so that I know that the next time I'm in your company, I know how to respond. I know how to act. I know what to give, right? There's some people who don't do, hi, Cedric, how are you? There are people who don't do a lot of talking, introverts, they don't want to really talk. They will if they have to. There are some people that would rather be home alone, not going out in big spaces and things of that nature. And so we have to start, those of us who haven't started, to start paying attention to our surroundings. Well, that's one of the things that I learned growing up in New York. You always look around to, make sure that, the area is clear, that there's no funny business going around, that you're clear of danger, or you're just making sure that you're, all areas are caught up. Everybody doesn't necessarily do that, but in New York, most of the people will say they are always looking around to see who's around them. Well, I think that we need to continue that, paying attention to who's around us, what their needs are, what's going on. Hey, Dad. Hey, Mom. What their needs are. Paying attention is one of the biggest lessons for me that I've learned. And every day is a confirmation. For me, paying attention, I can detect when something is wrong. Me paying attention, I can detect if someone is not feeling well, or if they're not having a good day, or there's some type of issue that's bothering them. Certain people, I can tell if they're uncomfortable, if they're tired, if they're aggravated. That's all about paying attention. And I think in this season, we need to start doing that. Why? Because we spend a lot of times being upset, frustrated, mad, disappointed in behavior that we already know is going to take place. So my conversation with this person was, how long have you been knowing the person? That's one. Few years. Okay. My next question, the behaviors that you're talking about, have you seen these behaviors, or have you seen this attitude or disposition? Have you seen it before? And the person said yes. So then I got to a point, the next question was, why do you expect something different? Especially if you had not had a conversation about said behavior. So it's a twofold thing here. Stop expecting something that you expect newness when the person ain't there yet. You expect, hi, Lady Sharon, you expect someone to evolve in a day's time. You expect people to change after being around you for 10 years, and I'm still smacking gum, right? 10 years later. That's who I am. That's part of something that I do. However, if me smacking gum offends you or bothers you, then the next thing would be to say, hey, Jeauninè, Coach J, something. You and that gum, now my mother will do this. You and that gum got to stop that popping, stop that popping of the gum, right? If you're not talking to me about how I'm offending you or what I'm doing to offend you, then that means I'm gonna keep offending you. That means that I'm gonna keep offending you. But if you are not at a place where you feel like you can come to me and say, hey, Jeauninè, that pop in that gum is a little too much, I need you to stop, then you have to basically get comfortable with it. If you're not going to say anything about it, you have to get comfortable about it. But my thing is, why do you expect me not to pop my gum if I've been doing it for 10 years? I think that I like when I laugh at myself. I hope I'm making sense to somebody tonight, because we get so worked up by people's attitude, their laziness, their disregard for your feelings, for the blatant disrespect. We get so comfortable with that, but then we get mad at it. To me, that doesn't even make any sense. Expectations should be conversations and not assumptions. Do not assume that the same Jeauninè that you met in 2022 is the same Jeauninè of today. Don't assume that, people will change overnight. It takes 16 consecutive days to start a habit. And that means that after that 16 days, and it's something that I've been doing for the last 5 years, unless I'm in a place of evolving, and I know that there's certain areas that I need to change or work, then most times you're going to get that same thing. So ultimately, tonight, be careful with the expectations that you have on people, especially if they don't know about those expectations. I talked a couple of months ago, I'm not even sure, it's been so long that I've been on, but I talked a while ago about expecting people to treat you a certain kind of way when you didn't tell them that that way works for you, right? I believe it's the same way. It's important that we stop expecting people to change overnight. And then if people have been, spoken to about their behaviors or something that they're doing, and they choose not to stop and they continue, then you need to see them for who they are. DMX he was on a show, and I should have told you about this so I could find it. But he was on a show, a radio talk show, and somebody asked him a question, and I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he was basically saying that we have to trust people to be who they are, but let people know that we know, or that we see them for who they are, if that makes sense. Like, trust people to be who you see them, who you know them to be. For me, I'm going to help, especially if it's an area of craziness, or you're just doing some things that are not becoming, or there's some growth opportunity. If I'm allowed, I'm going to try my best to assist. If you don't take that assistance and you choose to stay in that spot, that's okay. But that makes me understand that this is who you are, right? We do certain things when we come home. Certain people have certain rituals that they do when they walk in the house. They put their keys down, they'll take their jacket off, they'll put their pocketbook down, look at the mail, turn the TV on, put their phone on. Some people go straight to the bathroom. There's so many different things that people do. We just have to get to a point where we recognize, pay attention. Paying attention will save your life. Paying attention will save you days of misery. Paying attention will save you days of heartache and pain. Paying attention will tell you all about the person that they may not verbally say to you. They show you who they are able a long time ago, and we expect change to come because of the time we invested. And it doesn't work like that. Especially, and thanks Samantha for saying that, because we sometimes feel that because we're friends, right, or we're cool, that we've invested time. Yes, I've invested time in being your friend. I've invested time in, I'm your daughter, I'm your sister. Yes, I've invested that time. But for me, my invested time is, if I see you going down the wrong road, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to help you by giving you tools to try to figure out how you can get back to where you need to be, or how you can find a new place to be and how to maintain it, right? Because some of us will tell somebody, hey, I don't like this, and then leave it like that. Well, the person may not know what the first step is to doing something better. So it's a twofold for me. Pay attention to people. Pay attention to people. Not just because you want to see if they have an attitude, but also because you want to see if you can see behind the smile and you can see that they're hurting, or you can see that they need a hug in the moment, or you can see that they need somebody to talk to. That's what I mean when I say pay attention. Not just pay attention to how this person acts, but also pay attention to the needs that that person may have. Sometimes a hug will do it. Sometimes people just need that embrace to say, hey, somebody cares. But then you also need to pay attention to see, I cannot deal with this person on a certain level, so I'll keep it here because I can't give it here. I said the other day at the table we were talking, and I said, I will forever help people, right? That's Jeauninè. My help is helping everyone live on purpose. That's what the acronyms mean to me. Helping everyone live on purpose. But there's a difference between me helping everyone live on purpose, that's my purpose and my passion, versus helping everyone to live on purpose and Jeauninè. There's a difference. And we have to learn how to separate, especially if we have other things that we do. Business and your personal life need to be separate. They need to be separate. Because if not, one of the two is going to lose in the end. Because clashing that together. So when I say I will help and guide and give tools and minister and coach, whatever, all the days of my life. But then on the flip side of that, everybody who I'm helping does not get all of Jeauninè. You don't get all of that. And there may be some people that I help and I give them Jeauninè that will just get help and not get the Jeauninè. Sometimes familiarity messes up the dynamics of relationship. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes the familiarity messes up the dynamics of relationships. The dynamics can mess up the relationship. If I'm assuming a position that I'm not supposed to be in, or I'm assuming a position to somebody who don't want me there, I'm messing the dynamics up, which is why paying attention is essential in life. And not just paying attention like I'm paying attention as I'm walking across the street. No, I'm paying attention to before I walk across the street. Where are their cars at? How many cars are moving? How many lights? How many stop signs? How many people are on bikes? Because there's so many different things that can happen at that crosswalk. And if I'm not paying attention to all of my surroundings, then it'll be easy for me to get hit from the left side. So we have to be careful of putting ourselves in certain places that we don't belong in, certain relationships that we don't belong in, certain environments that we don't belong in. And then later on, we want to be mad at the outcome. But who you mad at? That's what I want to know. Who you mad at? You chose to have unrealistic expectations of somebody who's proved to you time and time again that they cannot get to where you want them to be. That's why we have to be very careful of looking at potential. That's not just in relationships, that's in friendships too. That's in friendships, that's in workshops, business. We have to be very careful of who we link with, who we connect to, and why we do it. right? Everybody knows I am the accountability coach. And so I'm always going to try to give you ways, not ways so that you don't have to hold yourself accountable in turmoil, right? We want to hold ourselves accountable as we live, as we grow, as we mature, right? We got to keep moving. Our life is progressive, so we should keep moving in that. But we got to get to a point where we stop expecting people to do what they haven't been doing. Stop it. Or we get mad at people doing what they always do as if they're going to change. Stop. You only are making yourself frustrated, aggravated, mad. I mean, people go through depression because they think that somebody should change their ways. Well, for me, if you haven't had a conversation with them about what it may be, right? And if everybody knows me, if I see something, I'm going to say something. Hi, Robert. There are addictions that may be hard for individuals to get rid of. We must help, but without condemnation, with corrective measures. Absolutely, Dad. And I just having that conversation. This is all a conversation that I've had the other day. Basically telling the person, you got to stop putting yourself in a position where you expect people to be you or to be like you. Everybody's circumstances wasn't like that. And because those women that I worked in the house with, because they wore nice clothes, because their hair was done and they had earrings and jewelry on, some people did not automatically know that they had developmental issues because they called them high functioning. So we have to understand that everybody has not had the life that we had. And I told this person in this conversation, when I say that I am blessed, and it's not to brag or to be boastful, but it is to brag and to be boastful because I'm blessed, right? So for me, if we take a moment to think, right? And I think that's where we err at. We just want to react. If we take a moment to think for a second, take a moment before we react. Just take a moment to think about things first, right? If we think about it, like maybe this person, so let's say for me, I'm going to use me for example. I got a few more minutes left. I'm going to use me for example. I can't testify about a broken home. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what a child goes through. I've seen it, right? Because for me, it was a broken home because I wasn't married to my son's father and he wasn't in the house. So but for me, I didn't witness that. To this very day, I witnessed love, compassion, understanding, respect, all of that from my parents for 56 years. No fighting and throwing things. And I didn't see that. I did not see that. My parents drove together to church. They drove back home together for church. My parents sleep in the same bed. They go on dates. They set boundaries and things to their relationships and the things that they did. So I don't know what it is for me to watch or to be a participant in a parent divorcing or parents cheating on each other or more children coming up. I can't testify to that because I haven't been a witness to that. Which also means I don't know how that created or molded the person to be, right? Trauma changes people. Hi, Minister Peak. I love you so much. Praying for you earnestly. Praying for you so much. And love you. So for me, I can't say I know what being in a house with a divorced mom or divorced dad or, a broken, I don't know what that is. So I can't say, well, part of my makeup is because of this specific, I can't say that in that area. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we evaluate, pay attention, because that person's outer appearance may tell you that everything is okay, but the inner appearance could be broken, could be traumatized, can be dysfunction in within. Why? Because that may have been what they lived through. So we have to be careful with the immediate attitude. They get on my nerves because, and I'm guilty of it. That's why I can now talk about it, because at one time, and I may have a slip up or two, like, hello, like, what are we doing today? But we have to be careful of who is around us, right? Mothers know their children, right? We pay attention to our children, so we know what they're going to do, how they're going to act. I know this phone call is when you're calling me for money. I know this phone call is because something is wrong. I know this phone call is because you need something in that moment. We need to, and I'm not saying be mothers, but we need to make sure that we're paying attention to people. Paying attention is going to stop you from being upset because I expected this from somebody. Stop. We have to stop getting to the point we expect stuff from people, because you're going to be disappointed because they're not going to give you what you need. And they can't give it to you. This is the thing. Sometimes we're expecting people to be 100% when they only can give 30%. So you thinking that I'm gonna get this from this person, or sometimes we get the attitude, well, no, they going to do this. Hi, Ashley. If you have that conversation with them and showing them change behavior to better yourself, but they refuse to work with you. Hi, Ashley. Welcome to Hot Conversations with Jeauninè. So let me answer that question. I'm having a hot flash, and you just made me even hotter with what they refuse to. This is the thing. Change is a difficult part of life. You're welcome. Change is a difficult part of life, right? Once the person gets to a point where they see error, or they see, whatever I've been doing, and now I need to change this. Now I need to start working with this. And you communicate that with people like, hey, I've noticed some things that I was doing and I'm changing. Or even if you don't communicate it, right? Depending on the relationship of who the refusal person is. But change to better yourself is for you. It is our hope and prayer and our desire that those who are around us and who can be affected by this change would jump on board, right? What we cannot do when we are in a point or in a season that we want growth, change, and maturity, we want to be in a posture of evolving, we have to then take out the opinions of other people. Why? Because if I benefit from your toxic behavior, why would I want you to change? Why? If I benefit from you being a people pleaser, why would I want you? Of course I'm going to refuse. Because the benefit for me changes. The benefit for me changes. So yeah, I'm not going to work with you on you changing to better yourself. I'm going to remind you of who you once were. That's when, Ashley, I want you to go back last year sometime. I did a live 2 parts on boundaries, right? Those are limits and rules to what you allow, which means once I get to a point in my life that I want better, that I want to evolve, I want more for myself, I need to, of course, this is my thing always, get a journal and write it down. You can't keep everything in your head. Oh, I want to make this change, or I want to adjust to this, or I want to go back to school. All of that stuff in your head is not going to work. You are not going to complete things like that. Write it down. but also in your writing down of what things you're changing, or, how you want things to be done now, you need to kind of put in who that may affect. So you can have a conversation if you choose. Hey, listen, me doing X, Y, and Z at one time is not working out for me. So I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to do something different. And if this person is directly affected, let's see if we can work this out. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we can figure it out. But we don't stop our change. We don't stop our evolving. We don't stop our maturity or our growth based on the opinions of others. That is a cause for a setback. Either you're going to go with me higher, or I'm going to have to leave you where you are. That's a word right there all by itself. And it's not being nasty. It's not being upset. And this is my thing. We expect people to do certain things. And then when they show us something different, we upset. We mad and frustrated and all bent out of shape. Why? You saw the person for who they were. You just thought that they wasn't going to do that to you. Or you thought, because now I'm going to do something different, that they're going to slide over to the side with you. And it don't work like that. If somebody can benefit from your brokenness, they will. If somebody can benefit from you being a people pleaser, they will. That's why when you learn how to say no, which is something that I preach and teach all the time, okay? Because no is a complete sentence. It's necessary and needed. It will stop you from being an enabler to somebody's toxic or dysfunctional behavior. We have to get to a point where our expectations of people is accurate based on what they've already shown us. So if I know that this person always got an attitude, I'm not going to expect for you to come in when I see you again nice. Why? Because you always show me attitude. Stop expecting people to be on your level. Stop expecting, hey, absolutely, everybody is a non-believer till it happens to them. Hey, Terrell. Absolutely. But we got to get to a point where our expectations are based on what we know and not what we want to know, not what we want to see. It got to be based on what it is. We spend massive time, most of our lives, expecting people to do right by us. And one of the things that we say is, well, I expect people to do right by me because I do right by them. That don't mean nothing. Not in 2025. If you haven't put boundaries in place, people are going to treat you any kind of way. And what you cannot do is allow someone to take you out of character, to pull you from your growth, to change your mindset, your disposition. You can't afford to do that. It took you too long to get to where you are. Right? And I think we've all been through it where we expect people to do certain things. And then when they don't do it, we feel like, the worst thing. Not in 2025. Right, AJ? We have to stop expecting what we do not see from people. Period. And if they decide to change, right? Because I gave a story for at work, sometimes people speak, sometimes they don't. I'm not bothered by that. I'm still going to do my good morning. I hope all is well. Good afternoon. Hope all is well. Have a great weekend. Because your issues, they have nothing to do with me. Your problems have nothing to do with me. So today was like a whole kind of fold, right? Be careful of the expectations that you have on people. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. That's where we error. Because we're so engulfed about they need to fix that we're not paying attention that they can't fix it. Who's to say? Right? Who's to say? We just have to be mindful of those around us, mindful of those in our circle, because we spend too much time being upset about situations that's going to keep happening unless we say something. right? The first part is expectations should be conversations and not assumptions. Stop assuming that people are going to do you right. Stop assuming that people are going to love you the way you need to be loved. Stop assuming that people are going to respect you in the position you have or in the title that you have. Stop expecting people to love you even though they may be mad at you for a moment. Stop expecting people to do what they did 10 years ago, because those people may have evolved into, I'm not doing that anymore, just like you may be changing. But the only thing that we can do in reference to the expectations that we have with people is have conversations with them about them. If not, then you got to see them for who they are, period. For who they are, period. Because people get stuck in their ways, especially when they do things over and over again. And that's who they become. But if there's no conversations, no, hey, I didn't like that. And if you choose not to have a conversation with them because I'm not really close to them or because I don't see them on a regular basis, that's fine. Just don't get mad when they do something you don't like. That's too much energy, right? There's so much stuff going on in the world, and we got to go to work, school, and everything else. And then we got to take the last little bit of energy that we have. We're going to take that to be frustrated because we don't want to acknowledge people for who they are. They've shown you. So I just wanted to give that little bit of the conversation because there was a lot more to this conversation, but I'm going to stop it right there. But we have to understand everybody may not be on the level that you're on. Level of understanding, level of grace, level of respect, level of responsibility, right? Because there's some people out here mad at folk for not doing stuff, but they've never had responsibility. They don't even know what responsibility is. And instead of being mad at people for what they don't know, we need to start trying to help them so that they will know, right? Help them. Listen, I understand you may have been operating in this way for a long time, but maybe try something else, right? Because you spend too much time on that. Maybe trying something else will free you a little bit. Maybe it won't make you as frustrated. Help them. And if they don't want your help, then you fall back. Loving someone and being directly connected to someone is not the same. Like, I can love you from a distance. I can love you and never speak to you. So we gotta be very, very careful. And that's my thing for y'all today. Be careful of those expectations. Be careful of getting angry or upset every time someone does something that you feel isn't right, or you feel like it's just crazy. Either you talk to them and say to them, hey, I don't really like that, or, this is bothering me, or this is a little bit extra. If you're not going to have that conversation with them, then you have to trust them for who they are, who they've shown you to be, who they've shown you that they are, basically, right? And then that's putting them in perspective, right? If I see that you always giving me attitude, I'm still going to speak, but there's going to be, we're not hanging out. We're not hanging out. Love you, never speak to you. Hello? It's a blessing from a distance, but love you. Absolutely. And we got to get to that point too. Like, I can function in a building with you and we don't have to have no other conversation but grace and peace, or, hey, how you doing? How you feel? What I won't do though, and this is my thing to this person, you got to stop putting yourself in this position because you think that these people are going to change overnight or that they're going to change, period. Let them be who they choose to be, especially those that had opportunities to do better or to get better, but chose not to. And that's why I take my stance. I will always help. But everybody won't get Jeauninè. You'll get Coach Jeauninè. You'll get Pastor Jeauninè. Okay, you'll get Jeauninè in my businesses. Yeah, CEO, you'll get that. Everybody don't get me, and it's something that you don't. Everybody don't get that. And everybody should not have access to, like, we have to be careful in this season. Familiarity is not a good thing in 2025. People take advantage of where they feel they live in your life. People take advantage of the space that you allot them, okay? Because of the film, they ain't that much, no. Because at the end of the day, wherever you stand, somebody, especially if you have something to say, especially if God has given you something to say, you have to be very careful of your company that you keep. And it's not, again, because, you know, I think people think or thought at one time, I think people think that being straight up and honest and real is being mean. And that tells me that you've had one-way people in your life. If I see you going the wrong way, I'm going to tell you that. You may not like it, and that is not my assignment. My assignment is to let you know and to give you tools to help you. But if you choose not to do that, it's fine with me, because I will never force better on anybody. I will never force growth on anybody. Never. If you choose not to, that's fine. But if you're willing to do something better and to be a better person, then yes, we're going to help. Everybody should be in that place. It said that I had to love you. God told me to love you. That means that we may not like everybody. We don't got to be nasty to them because you don't like them. Or if you don't rock with them or they not in your little circle, you don't got to be nasty. And even if they needed help, you should be there, because God has commissioned us to help. Help, not enable. Because there's a difference between me helping you to get back on your feet. It's a difference between me helping you to educate you about life or perspective. It's different. I'm not going to enable you, meaning if you need me in a moment and you say you need a couple of dollars and I'm giving you this couple of dollars, but now it's an every week thing that you need money. That's me enabling you of responsibility. That's not me helping you to be a better person. If you came to me in that situation, for me, help is, let's look at the job ad. Let's see who's hiring. Okay? Every genre, if you have a specific career path, let's look and see who's hiring over there. Let's see who's hiring over here. Maybe you need part-time work. Maybe you need to go to school, get some more education. But what I won't do is now take care of you. That's where we have to be careful between helping and enabling, because they go kind of sort of in the same direction. And if you're not careful, and if you're not strong and very confident in who you are and where you stand in reference to your boundaries, then you then become an enabler, not somebody who's helping them. All right. So today's lesson. Be careful of the expectations that you put on people. Be careful of the expectations that you put on people without having a conversation with them about those said expectations. 3, or C, expectations should be conversations, not assumptions. Stop hurting your feelings by assuming that people are going to do or say things that you think that they're going to do. Where am I at? 4, D, 4. Instagram has disconnected the stream. They're currently, okay, it's fine. 4, make sure that you pay attention to everyone and everything. Those who are close to you, those who are around you, those are your friends. Pay attention. And in this season, let's stop carrying dead weight. If you try to revive and that weight ain't coming alive, am I rapping right now? Come on, rapping. Stop carrying around dead weight. Expectations can be dead weight. Not paying attention can be dead weight. Allowing people to do and say anything to you can be dead weight. Stop holding on to the dead weight. Let that go. Either by conversation with the person, letting them know, hey, what you got going on, what's happening is kind of bothering me. I don't really rock with it. I don't really like with it. But if you choose not to tell the person how they're hurting you, or if you choose to tell the person that what they're doing is a trigger for you, or it's, detrimental to you. If you choose not to say anything, then you have a choice, either to stay there and continue in it or cut it off at the root. It will eventually kill you. Yes, it will. Also, we have to be careful with who we give ourselves to and how we operate, because expectations is such a big conversation, because it goes hand in hand with every part of life, relationships. Because if you expect me or think that I'm washing these dishes every night and you're not, and you're going to be watching TV, that's a problem for me. But if I'm not telling you, hey, I need help with the dishes, or can we split the dishes, right? Like, let's try to work out things before we immediately get upset. Let's take a moment to think about stuff before we jump to conclusions or assumptions. Let's take a moment to think before we get mad in haste, or we ready to tell somebody off, or we get to a point of frustration. I've watched people get mad expecting somebody to do something they different that they've been doing for 25 years. Stop. And if you've had conversation with the person about whatever it is and they choose not to change, then you need to distance yourself, especially if it's a trigger for you, or especially if it's frustrating you. We live this life so frustrated. So we have more aggravation in the day's time than we do happiness in a day's time. Then we think about a moment of being grateful, because we allow people and the things that they do to frustrate us or to make us mad like we haven't seen that for 10 years. Stop expecting them. Your feelings are in that expectation. Stop expecting people to do something different than what they have been doing. I love y'all. I just wanted to come on. I know I was kind of in different areas, but ultimately, let's start taking a moment to think about things before we respond. And at the end of that conversation, even though it was more to the conversation, the word for the day for that person was to change your response. So some people are slow learners, so then you have to put it into action. Yes. Right. So, of course, if you choose not to, if you don't understand what I mean when I say, for instance, I'm not washing the dishes today. Like Tuesday, if I've come to you and said, all right, so Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I got the dishes. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have the dishes. We going outside on Saturday. Okay. We have that conversation. And we're going to start this next week, right? So we've had this dialogue about what we want to do. And the person is like, oh, okay. And so I'm Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we get to Wednesday and you're not doing the dishes. I'm going to remind you, hey, remember we made the agreement, we sat down and we talked about it. Please don't change things. Or if you're going to make changes based on what they're doing, be careful that it's changes that you can maintain. Meaning, if I'm going to change my response, I gotta keep that going. Which means I gotta keep reminding myself, Jeauninè, don't focus in on the negative. Jeauninè, don't pay attention. Remember, that's how they are. That's how they want to be. They don't want to change. We have to remind ourselves so that we're not in a place, because ultimately we upset that they're not doing what we asked them to do. We upset that they doing crazy stuff when they always do crazy stuff. We mad because they doing weird stuff. We are mad while they're still being them. What happened? We're frustrated, aggravated. Now my blood pressure up. I got a headache. Meanwhile, they sitting on the couch chilling because they've already determined that change is not going to be their portion. So what do we need to do in that moment? Read between the lines. If this is who you choose to be and there's no change, especially after I've had a conversation with you about it, and we've discussed it several times over, and you choose not to make a change, then I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. And again, it never has to be nasty. We get to a nasty point when we don't say nothing. We get mad and frustrated over and over again because you haven't said anything. It's not about an argument, but what I'm going to tell you is what you're doing is hurting me or it's bothering me. I don't like it. I feel uncomfortable. If you choose to continue to do it, then I'm going to have to separate myself from you. I'm not going to live in frustration, aggravation, or you trying to, especially if I say what you're doing is hurting me, like my blood pressure is sky high because of that, and you choose to keep going on. Then at the end of the day, whose fault is it that that situation is still happening? Why am I still standing there if I know that this person is going to keep stepping on my toe? No, I need to move. I done told you that you're stepping on my toe, and you said, oh, did I? Yes, you did. I made you aware. Okay, walk past again, and you stepped on my toe one more time. You got one more time. Hello, you stepped on my toe. Like, I'm going to move myself, but I would appreciate if you're intentional about where you walk at, or you pay attention to where you are so that we don't have these issues. But if the person chooses not to make any adjustments or make any changes, then the person who needs to change is you. Some of us stuck because we waiting for people to change after 30 years, and they basically already told us no in 18 different ways, but we still looking for potential. We still asking God to make the difference. That is wonderful that we pray for that. But if they are not praying for change, if they're not moving and acting and doing something to better or to change themselves, then we sitting there looking crazy. We cannot love and live off of potential. It got to be who you are in this moment. I know that there may be growth, but who are you showing me that you are? Or who have you shown me that you are? Be careful of your surroundings. Pay attention. That's one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in life. Pay attention. People will tell you everything about them, sometimes without them opening their mouth. All you have to do is pay attention, but leave those expectations at the door. And if you want to have expectations, they should be conversations, okay? Not in an argument, not mad or angry, but in a moment of, hey, we need to have let's sit down, let's talk real quick. I just want to express something to you. And if it gets heated, then walk away. Depending on who it is. Like, if you get heated with a person outside of your house, not your husband or your wife, that's something different. Like, I'm not going to keep going back and forth on you about how I feel about something. I'm going to tell you what it is, and that's it. I'm going to expect you to do what you tell me you are going to do. If you tell me you're going to work on it or you're going to try, then that's what I expect you trying, which means you may not get it right the first couple of times because it's new. But as long as you're trying. Now, if I see that you're not trying, you stay in the same place, then it's not you that need to make a decision. It's me. Hey. Yes. Anyway, thank you all so much. I love y'all. We are back. Again, so much has happened over the time, and I haven't been on, but I'm here. Okay, I've gotten the threatening text messages. The no, you will go live. It's been a lot, but I hope and pray that these conversations, or the ones that were passed, that has touched somebody to the point that they want more, they want to hear more, and that's what I am here to do. I am Coach Jeauninè. I love you all so much. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, be careful of the expectations that you give people, especially when you give them without a conversation. Please be mindful that from today on, that you're going to pay more attention to your surroundings, pay more attention to the people that you're around, learn them, their behaviors and what happens, so that you're not shocked, mad, or upset at a behavior that they may display. It will save you a lot of headache, time, frustration, aggravation, and stress. And what we do not want to do in 2025 is live a life of stress because we choose not to either have that conversation or we choose not to make decisions based on what we see. I love y'all all tonight, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's not what you do to me that affects my life. It's what I do to you that affects That's my life. I love y'all all. I hope you enjoyed this little session tonight. And if you can share, let people know that Hot Conversations, we are back in effect. And we have so many different things that we want to talk about, so many perspectives I want to give all of you, or so that you can give someone else. Anyway, if you need me, you can always reach me, Hot Conversations, on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. We are here on Mondays. And again, thank you all for watching. Love y'all. Bye.